They say funerals reveal more truth than weddings. That morning, as my father lay silent in his casket, I didn't yet know that the day would reopen a wound I had spent 4 years sealing shut. I had come to say goodbye to my father. I would leave having faced the sister who betrayed me, the man who ruined me, and a secret neither of them expected to see standing beside me. The chapel smelled of lilies and polished wood. Soft piano music drifted through the room, barely touching the heavy air. Mourners filled the rows in quiet clusters, dressed in black, whispering condolences and memories of the man my father had been. I stood alone at the front, hands folded, eyes fixed on the closed casket. I hadn't cried yet. Grief had settled into me like stone. 3 minutes after the service began, the doors opened. I didn't have to turn around to know who it was. I felt her before I saw her. Vanessa always arrived like that, with the confidence of someone who believed every room was waiting for her. Her heels clicked sharply against the floor as she walked in, late and unbothered, dressed in a fitted black designer dress that hugged her like it was tailored for the occasion. Diamonds flashed at her ears, catching the light even in mourning. Beside her walked Darren. My former fiancé, the man who had once promised me forever, the man who had broken me without apology. They took their seats together, perfectly composed, a married couple, united, watching me. I kept my eyes forward. I had prepared myself for their presence. What I had not prepared for was Vanessa's timing. She waited, exactly 3 minutes. Then she rose from her seat and approached me, her expression soft with practiced sympathy. To anyone watching, she looked like a loving sister stepping forward to offer comfort. Only I knew the calculation behind her smile. "Laura," she whispered, leaning close enough that only I could hear, "it must be so hard standing here alone." Her voice was gentle, her words were not. "I almost felt sorry for you," she continued, her lips barely moving. "Poor thing, 38 and still single. Meanwhile, I got the man, the money, and the mansion." My heart thudded painfully, but I didn't step back. She glanced toward Darren, who stood near the guest book, his expensive suit flawless, his expression unreadable. Then she looked back at me, eyes sharp with satisfaction. "Everyone else moved on," she said. "You didn't." I could feel eyes drifting toward us. Family members sensed the tension. Old friends pretended not to watch. Vanessa knew this too. She thrived on it. She sighed softly, as if burdened by concern. "Dad used to worry about you, you know. He wondered if you'd ever recover." The word hung between us like a blade. Before I could respond, she straightened, smoothing her dress, ready to return to her seat. She had delivered her blow. Clean, precise. But as she turned away, something shifted inside me. Not anger, not pain. Certainty. I watched her take 2 steps before I spoke. "Vanessa," I said calmly. She paused, already smiling, already expecting weakness. "I'm not alone." She turned back amused, disbelieving. That was when I saw him walking toward us through the mourners. And for the first time that day, I smiled. Vanessa's smile didn't fade, it sharpened. She glanced past me, then back again, clearly unimpressed. "Alone, married, imaginary, it's all the same thing, Laura," she said quietly. "You always did cope with disappointment creatively." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. She stepped closer again, lowering her voice. "Do you know how strange it looks?" she continued. "Standing here by yourself while everyone else has someone, even at Dad's funeral." She shook her head slowly. "I almost admire how you pretend it doesn't bother you." Darren shifted near the guest book. I caught his reflection in the glass frame beside the flowers. He wasn't looking at me. He was watching Vanessa, always watching her. Vanessa noticed too. "You remember Darren, of course," she said, though the reminder was unnecessary. "He wanted to come say hello, but I told him it might be awkward for you." Her lips curved. "You never really did handle closure well." A few people nearby grew still. Conversations thinned. My aunt stopped mid-sentence. Vanessa knew exactly how far she could push without causing a scene. That was her skill. "You know," she went on, "I used to feel guilty for a while." She tapped a finger lightly against her bracelet. "But then I realized something. If a man can leave you so easily, maybe he was never meant to stay." Her eyes searched my face, waiting for a crack. I gave her nothing. She frowned, slightly annoyed. Seattle didn't fix you, did it? She asked. Different city, same story, no ring, no family, just work and silence. She leaned in again. Tell me, are you actually happy or just telling yourself that? I opened my mouth, then closed it. Not because I didn't have an answer, but because I knew timing mattered. Vanessa straightened, satisfied. I really hope you find peace someday, she said, loud enough for others to hear now. Dad would have wanted that. That did it. Before she could walk away again, Darren finally approached. He stopped a few feet from me, hands clasped, expression stiff. Laura, he said, I'm sorry about your father. It was the first time he'd spoken my name in 4 years. Thank you, I replied. An uncomfortable silence settled between us. Vanessa watched closely, alert now, sensing something was off. You look well, Darren added, settled. I am, I said. He hesitated. I heard you moved back east for a while. West, I corrected. Vanessa laughed softly. Still correcting people, she said. Some things never change. Then she turned to Darren, slipping her arm through his. We should let Laura grieve in peace, she said sweetly. She's had enough reminders of the past. She started to pull him away. That was when footsteps stopped beside me. A familiar presence, steady, certain. Vanessa's grip tightened on Darren's arm. I turned slightly and spoke before either of them could react. Actually, I said evenly, I think this is the perfect moment. Both of them looked at me. I looked up at the man standing beside me. Have you met my husband? The reaction was instant. Vanessa's hand slipped from Darren's arm. Her breath caught sharply, like she'd been struck. The color drained from her face so fast it was almost unsettling. For a second, she didn't blink, didn't move, just stared. Darren froze. Not confusion, recognition. His jaw tightened. His shoulders went rigid. He looked like a man who had just realized he'd stepped into something far deeper than he could escape. The man beside me didn't rush the moment. He stood calmly, one hand resting lightly at my back, waiting. He always waited. That was the difference. Marcus, he said politely, extending his hand to Vanessa first. Marcus Hamilton. Vanessa's fingers trembled as she accepted the handshake. Yes, hello, she managed, her voice thin. I didn't realize. No, Marcus replied evenly. Most people don't. Darren cleared his throat. Hamilton, he said carefully, didn't expect to see you here. Marcus turned to him, expression neutral. Family events have a way of bringing people together. The silence around us thickened. Conversations nearby slowed. A few heads turned. People sensed something unfolding, something sharper than grief. Vanessa laughed suddenly, too loudly. This is unexpected, she said. Laura, you never mentioned you were married. I wasn't required to, I replied. Her eyes flicked to my hand, to the ring she hadn't noticed before. Simple, solid, real. When did this happen? She asked. 2 years ago, Marcus answered before I could. Quiet ceremony, close friends. Vanessa swallowed. Darren shifted his weight. So this is Seattle? He asked, trying for casual. Marcus smiled slightly. That's right. Recognition deepened in Darren's eyes. Not personal, professional, dangerous. You're the one who, Darren stopped himself. Marcus finished it calmly. Won the Morrison account and the Northwest tourism contract. Vanessa looked between them, confused. What is he talking about? Darren didn't answer. Marcus continued, voice level. Darren and I competed in the same industry for years. We crossed paths more than once. And, Vanessa pressed. And Marcus said, not everyone won. The words landed hard. Darren's face tightened. This isn't the place, he said. Marcus nodded. You're right, it's not. Then he turned to me. Are you okay? I was. For the first time since walking into that chapel, I truly was. Vanessa stepped back, shaken now. You did this on purpose, she said to me, her voice low. You brought him here. No, I said calmly. I brought my husband to my father's funeral. That was when it hit her. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't luck. This was something she hadn't controlled. And for Vanessa, that was terrifying. Vanessa tried to recover. I could see it happening in real time. Her spine straightened. Her chin lifted. She reached for control the way she always did, by attacking. So, she said slowly, eyes locked on me, this is your big reveal. There was an edge to her voice now. The softness was gone. I suppose I should congratulate you, she added. You finally found someone willing to play husband. Marcus didn't react, he didn't interrupt, he let her speak. Darren, however, was sweating. You didn't tell me you were married, Vanessa continued, as if the omission itself were an insult. Not once, not at holidays, not on the phone, nothing. I wasn't hiding, I said, I just wasn't sharing. She scoffed, that's convenient. Marcus finally spoke. Laura prefers peace over performance. Vanessa turned sharply to him. And you prefer drama, apparently, she snapped. Showing up here of all places. Marcus's expression didn't change. I showed up to support my wife. The word wife landed heavier than anything else said so far. Darren exhaled sharply through his nose. Marcus, let's not pretend this is random, he said. You know exactly how this looks. Marcus looked at him calmly. It looks like a funeral. No, Darren replied. It looks like revenge. That made Vanessa pause. What do you mean? She asked him. Darren didn't take his eyes off Marcus. He didn't just compete with me, he replaced me. Silence. Vanessa's eyes widened slightly. Replaced you how? In business, Darren said. Clients, contracts, influence. His jaw tightened. He undercut us, took everything we were building. Marcus corrected him quietly. I outperformed you. The tension snapped. Vanessa stepped back again, her confidence cracking. You never told me this, she said to Darren. He didn't answer. You told me you left that firm, she pressed. You said it was mutual. Darren finally looked at her. Not now. That was enough. The pieces were falling into place and she could feel it. The mansion, the money, the image she'd been so proud of, all of it suddenly felt unstable. I watched her carefully. You mocked me for standing alone, I said, but you never once asked if I was happy. She scoffed weakly. You expect me to believe you are. Yes, I said, because I stopped trying to win. Marcus's hand tightened slightly in mine. Vanessa looked at him again, really looked at him this time. The calm, the certainty, the way he didn't need to prove anything. Fear flickered across her face. She had stolen a man once. She had never expected to lose everything else. Vanessa took a slow breath, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You're enjoying this, she said to me, aren't you? No, I replied, I'm ending it. Darren looked between us, clearly realizing he was no longer in control of the conversation. This is inappropriate, he said. We're at a funeral. You didn't seem worried about appropriateness 4 years ago, I said evenly. That shut him up. Marcus spoke again, calm and precise. Laura, if you'd like to step away, we can. Vanessa reacted instantly. No, she said, I want to understand something first. She turned back to me. Did you know about them? She nodded toward Marcus and Darren. Before today. Yes, I said. Her eyes widened. And you still married him. I married him because of who he is, I replied, not because of who he beat. Darren's jaw clenched. You make it sound like a competition. Marcus answered before I could. It was never a competition for me. I didn't marry Laura to prove anything. Then why now? Darren snapped. Why show up here? Marcus held his gaze. Because she asked me to stand with her. That was it, that was the line. Vanessa's composure finally cracked. You planned this, she whispered to me. You wanted me to see, to feel it. I shook my head. You did that yourself. She laughed once, sharp and hollow. You really think you won? I don't think about winning, I said. I think about moving forward. Darren looked at Vanessa then, really looked at her, as if seeing her panic for the first time. Let's go, he muttered. She didn't move. You told me you were successful, she said quietly to him. You told me everything was stable. It is, he snapped. This changes nothing. But it already had. People were watching now, not openly but enough. Darren noticed. He lowered his voice. We'll talk later. Vanessa turned back to me, her eyes cold. This isn't over. I met her stare without flinching. It already is. Marcus leaned in slightly. Laura, he said gently, your aunt is looking for you. I nodded. As we walked away, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Behind me, I heard Vanessa's voice rise, sharp, urgent. Darren's followed, tense and defensive. Their perfect image was cracking. And this time, I wasn't the one being left behind. We didn't make it far. Laura. Vanessa's voice cut through the room, louder this time. People definitely heard it. I stopped. Marcus stopped with me. I turned. She was standing alone now. Darren had stepped a few feet away, pretending to study a photo display. He wasn't leaving. He was avoiding. You don't get to walk away like this, Vanessa said. Not after humiliating me. I didn't humiliate you, I replied. You did that yourself. Her eyes flashed. You think marrying him erased what you were, she said. You think that fixes everything. Marcus remained silent. That was deliberate. This wasn't his fight. You disappeared, Vanessa continued. You ran while I stayed. I built a life. You took a life, I corrected. There's a difference. That landed. She stepped closer, lowering her voice again. Do you know what people are saying right now? She whispered. They're looking at me like I'm the one who lost. I held her gaze, because you did. Her breath hitched. You don't know anything about my marriage. I know enough, I said. I know you wouldn't be standing here if everything was perfect. Behind her, Darren shifted again. His eyes darted around the room. He was calculating exits. Vanessa noticed. Slowly, she turned to him. You told me he was nothing, she said. Just another consultant. Darren stiffened. Vanessa. You told me you crushed him, she snapped. You said he was finished. Marcus spoke then, quiet but sharp. I wasn't finished. I was just getting started. Vanessa looked at him like he'd struck her. You lost the Crestview deal because you overpromised, Marcus continued. You lost Morrison because your numbers didn't hold, and you lost Northwest Tourism because you lied. Darren's face flushed. That's not enough, Marcus said calmly. The word carried weight. Darren stopped talking. Vanessa's voice dropped to a whisper. Is this why everything's been falling apart? She asked Darren. The money, the pressure, the calls. He didn't answer. That was answer enough. She turned back to me, eyes wide now. You knew, she said. You knew all along. I knew who I married, I said. That's all. Her mouth opened, closed. She looked suddenly unsure of what to say next. Marcus touched my hand. Laura, let's go. I nodded. This time when we walked away, no one stopped us. Behind us, I heard Vanessa say Darren's name again, sharp, demanding. He didn't respond. And I realized something as we reached the exit. For the first time in her life, Vanessa was standing alone. 4 years earlier, I believed my life was settled. Darren had walked into it with confidence and certainty, the kind that made promises sound permanent. He knew what he wanted, or at least he knew how to say he did. That was enough back then. We met through mutual friends at a charity event. He noticed me first, made that clear. He asked the right questions, listened just long enough, remembered details that made me feel chosen. Within weeks, he had carved out a place in my routine, calls every morning, dinners planned days ahead, a future spoken about as if it were already scheduled. He moved fast. I mistook that for passion. When he proposed, it felt inevitable. Everyone approved. My father liked him. Vanessa admired him. Darren fit neatly into the version of life I thought I was supposed to build. Vanessa, especially, inserted herself early. She offered help with everything. Venues, guest lists, vendors. She said she wanted to make things easier for me. I let her, I trusted her. That was my mistake. Small things began to change. Darren became distracted. Phone calls taken in other rooms. Late nights explained away with work. He grew impatient when I asked questions. Vanessa, meanwhile, grew closer to him, too close. She knew his schedule better than I did, knew his preferences, his moods. I ignored it. I told myself I was imagining things, that jealousy was ugly, that I was overthinking. Until I wasn't. The truth didn't arrive gently. It never does. One moment I was planning a wedding. The next, I was standing in an office doorway watching my fiancé and my sister scramble apart like strangers caught in a lie too big to explain. There were no good excuses, no apologies that mattered. I didn't scream, I didn't argue, I left. That night, I packed what I could carry and drove until the city disappeared behind me. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I didn't ask for permission. I just vanished. Darren tried calling, Vanessa sent messages, then silence. I started over in a city where no one knew my name or my history, a place where I could exist without explanation. It wasn't brave, it was survival. I worked whatever job I could get. I lived small. I learned how to be alone without falling apart. Slowly, painfully, I rebuilt myself without them. I didn't know then that Darren's world was already cracking. Or that Vanessa had built her new life on promises that wouldn't last. I only knew one thing. I would never beg for what was taken from me. And I would never explain myself to people who didn't deserve the truth. The months after I left were silent. Not peaceful, silent. No dramatic confrontations, no public fallout, just distance. I changed my number, closed old accounts. Let familiar places fade. I became someone unreachable. Seattle didn't heal me, it tested me. I took a job far below what I was qualified for. It paid little and demanded everything. I showed up early. I stayed late. I didn't talk about my past. I didn't let anyone ask. At night, I replayed the betrayal until it lost sharpness, until it became fact instead of injury. Vanessa resurfaced eventually. A message, carefully written, neutral. She said she hoped I was doing well. She didn't apologize, Darren didn't either. They announced their engagement 6 months later. I heard through someone else, a mutual friend who didn't know what to say and said too much instead. The ring, the house, the speed. I didn't respond. What no one knew was that their perfect life had already begun to rot. Darren was reckless. He chased growth without stability. He promised clients results he couldn't deliver. He borrowed to maintain appearances. He told Vanessa success was temporary stress. She believed him. While I was learning how to live on less, Darren was spending more than he earned. While I rebuilt quietly, he performed loudly. Then Marcus entered my life without announcement. At first, he was just a name on an email. A client, direct, efficient, not charming, not cold, just precise. He didn't flirt. He didn't rush. He noticed details that mattered. He noticed me. When projects failed, he didn't blame. When plans shifted, he adapted. He asked questions Darren never had. Trust formed slowly, not desire, trust. He never asked about my past, not because he didn't care, but because he understood timing. When I eventually told him the truth, he didn't react with anger or pity. He listened. That's when I knew the difference. Darren wanted admiration. Marcus wanted honesty. We didn't rush into love, we built it, piece by piece, without witnesses, without announcements. By the time we married, I no longer needed validation. And by the time Vanessa stood in that chapel mocking me, she had no idea she was speaking to someone who had already survived her worst. She thought the story was over. It wasn't. It was just reaching the part she couldn't control. Vanessa's life unraveled quietly. Not all at once, not publicly, just enough to keep her awake at night. After the funeral, she stopped posting online. The mansion stopped appearing in photos. Invitations slowed. Friends became distant. People always sense decline before it's announced. The call came 3 nights later. I didn't answer at first. I knew her voice before I heard it. Desperation changes tone. On the 4th ring, I picked up. "Laura," she said, no greeting, no insult, just my name. "I need to talk to you." "I'm listening," I replied. She hesitated, not on the phone. An hour later, she stood outside my apartment. No Darren, no confidence, just her. She didn't sit right away. She paced. Then she stopped and said it fast, like ripping off something painful. "We're drowning." I didn't ask who. "The accounts are overdrawn," she continued. "The house is leveraged, the cards are maxed. Darren said it was temporary, he said it would stabilize." I waited. "He lied," she whispered. Or maybe he believed it, I don't know anymore. The silence between us was heavy. "They're calling," she said. "Banks, lawyers, people who don't care who we are." She laughed once hollow. "Funny how fast status disappears." I looked at her carefully. "Why are you telling me this?" Her eyes lifted. Because you walked away before everything collapsed, because you saw it before I did. No, I said, I just left sooner. Her jaw tightened. Do you know what it's like, she said sharply, to realize you destroyed your own sister for something that was already broken? There it was. Not regret, recognition. Darren doesn't sleep, she went on. He snaps at everything. He watches Marcus's name like it's poison. She swallowed. He knows he lost. I said nothing. She looked at me then, really looked at me. You won, she said. I didn't compete, I replied. She nodded slowly, as if that answer hurt more than any insult. That's what scares me. She stood, smoothing her jacket out of habit, old reflex. I won't ask for forgiveness, she said. I don't deserve it. I walked her to the door. Before leaving, she turned back once. You were right, she said. Time didn't punish me, I did. When the door closed, I leaned against it and exhaled. Marcus came out of the other room. He hadn't interrupted. He never did. Are you okay? He asked. Yes, I said honestly. Outside, Vanessa walked back into a life she could no longer control. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger. Only distance. And that was final. The next morning, Darren showed up. Not at my door, at my work. I saw him through the glass wall before he saw me. Same suit, same posture, something hollow behind it now. Marcus was in a meeting. That mattered. Darren waited until I stepped out. We need to talk, he said quietly. No, I replied. You want to talk? His jaw tightened. You think you've won something, he said, but you don't know what you've done. I met his eyes. You did this to yourself. He leaned closer. Marcus didn't beat me because he's better, he said. He cheated, he stole clients, he manipulated the system. I almost smiled. That's what you tell yourself. You think he told you everything, Darren pressed. You think he's clean. I know he's honest, I said. That's already more than you ever were. Darren's voice dropped. You destroyed my marriage. No, I corrected. I stopped pretending it was stable. He exhaled sharply. Vanessa's breaking, he said. She came to you, didn't she? Yes. And you enjoyed that, he snapped. I shook my head. You still don't understand. None of this is about you anymore. That's when his control snapped. You owe me, he said, after everything I gave you. I stepped closer. You gave me lies, I said calmly, and you took my sister. That debt is settled. His eyes flicked toward the office behind me. You think Marcus will protect you, he said, from what's coming. I don't need protection, I replied. I need distance. Marcus appeared behind me then, silent, steady. Darren saw him and stepped back instinctively. This conversation is over, Marcus said. Darren stared at him, resentment burning through exhaustion. This isn't finished, he said. Marcus nodded once. For you, it is. Darren left without another word. That afternoon, news started moving. Quiet at first, then faster. Contracts withdrawn, partnerships questioned, calls unanswered. By evening, Darren's name was already losing weight. And I understood something then. Closure doesn't come with apologies. It comes when the noise finally stops. And his was fading fast. Vanessa didn't call again. That alone told me everything. 2 weeks passed, then 3. Silence filled the space where chaos used to live. It felt unfamiliar, almost dangerous, like the quiet before something collapses. The first rumor reached me through work. A client withdrew from Darren's firm without explanation. Another froze payments. A third demanded audits. Nothing public, nothing dramatic, just erosion. Marcus didn't comment. He never needed to. Then one evening, as we were leaving a restaurant, Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and turned it face down. It's done, he said simply. I didn't ask what he meant. The next day, Vanessa appeared in a photo online, not posted by her, by someone else. A candid shot at a cafe, no ring, no Darren. That night, she messaged me. He moved out. 2 words, no blame, no story. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. I'm sorry. It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't comfort, it was truth. Her response came minutes later. He says this is your fault. I closed my phone. Some people need an enemy to survive. Darren had always been one of them. Weeks later, Darren's firm dissolved quietly. No announcement, no headlines, just a website taken offline, a phone number disconnected. Vanessa called then. He left the city, she said, no forwarding address. I imagined him running again. That was his pattern. Charm, collapse, disappear. What are you going to do? I asked. There was a pause. I don't know, she admitted. I've never had to decide anything alone. The words lingered. I have, I said. You'll learn. She didn't answer. After the call, I realized something unsettling. I no longer felt anything when her name appeared. No anger, no satisfaction. Just distance. That was the real shift. Not the confrontation, not the exposure. The absence of weight. That night, Marcus and I stood on our balcony, the city quiet beneath us. You okay? He asked. Yes, I said. I think this chapter finally closed. He didn't correct me. He knew better. Some stories don't end loudly. They fade. And when they do, you realize they stopped belonging to you a long time ago. The calm didn't last. It never does. One evening, Marcus came home later than usual. Not rushed, not tense, just alert. That alone put me on edge. Something came up, he said. I waited. Darren contacted one of my former partners, Marcus continued. Tried to leverage old grievances, claimed I sabotaged him. I felt a familiar tightening in my chest, and it didn't work, Marcus said, but it confirmed something. I looked at him. What? He's not done, Marcus replied. He doesn't want recovery, he wants retaliation. The next morning, an anonymous email arrived at my office. No subject line, no greeting. You don't know who you married. That was it. I didn't forward it, I didn't respond, but I knew who sent it. By afternoon, a second email arrived, this one longer. Accusations, half-truths twisted into something poisonous. Claims Marcus had ruined lives, that he used people. I showed Marcus. He read it once and deleted it. He's trying to provoke fear, Marcus said. That's all he has left. But fear has a way of spreading. By the end of the week, questions surfaced at work. Polite, careful, concern masked as curiosity. Someone had been talking. Vanessa. Not intentionally, desperation loosens tongues. She called that night, voice unsteady. He says you're hiding things, she said. That Marcus built everything by stepping on others. Do you believe him? I asked. She didn't answer right away. I don't know what to believe anymore. That was dangerous territory. Listen to me, I said. Darren survives by shifting blame. If he can't control you, he'll poison whatever you touch. Her breathing changed. He says he's going to expose Marcus. Marcus met my eyes across the room, calm, unbothered. Let him, Marcus said quietly. Vanessa heard it. He sounds confident, she said. He is, I replied. She went silent. The line disconnected a second later. That night I lay awake longer than usual, not afraid, watchful. Darren wasn't trying to win anymore. He was trying to burn everything on his way down. And that made him unpredictable. Which meant the real test wasn't behind us. It was coming. The exposure never came. Days passed, then weeks. Darren's threats dissolved into nothing. No leaks, no scandals, no dramatic downfall of Marcus like he'd promised. That silence was deliberate. Marcus explained it one night without emotion. If Darren had proof, he would have used it already. What he has is noise. Noise, however, still travels. A former colleague of Darren's reached out to me through a mutual contact. Not to accuse, to warn. He's been asking questions, the message read. About you, about your work, about Marcus's clients. I showed Marcus. He's trying to find leverage where none exists, Marcus said. That's desperation. Vanessa called the next day. Her voice was quieter than I'd ever heard it. He came back, she said. I didn't ask who. He wants me to testify, she continued. Against Marcus. He says if I don't help him, I'm choosing you over him. The line between us went still. What did you say? I asked. I told him I was done choosing, she replied. That surprised me. He didn't take it well, she added. Where is he now? I asked. I don't know, she said, but he's angry. That night my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. This ends if you convince him to settle. I stared at the message. Marcus read it over my shoulder. He wants control, he said, even now. I won't respond, I said. Good. The next message arrived an hour later. You always ruin everything. I blocked the number. 2 days later, Darren's former firm was officially dissolved. Assets liquidated, debts unresolved, no announcement, just paperwork. Marcus received a call that same afternoon. He listened, thanked the caller, hung up. That was the last investor Darren tried to reach, he said. They declined. I exhaled slowly. Vanessa texted that night. He's gone again. No details, no forwarding address, just absence. That should have been relief. Instead, it felt like a warning. People like Darren don't disappear because they've accepted loss. They disappear to plan their next move. And I knew, deep down, that whatever he did next wouldn't be about money. It would be personal. The call came at night. Not from Darren, from someone who used to work for him. I don't want to be involved, the man said quickly, but you should know what he's doing. I stayed silent. He's telling people you manipulated everything, the man continued. That you planned this years ago, that Marcus targeted him because of you. I closed my eyes. Is anyone believing him? Not really, he admitted, but he's pushing hard. He wants a reaction. That was Darren's pattern. If he couldn't win, he needed proof he still mattered. Marcus listened as I repeated the call. His expression didn't change. He's trying to rewrite the story, Marcus said. That's all he has left. The next morning, a formal notice arrived at my office. A legal inquiry, not an accusation. A request for clarification regarding potential conflicts of interest. Marcus read it once. This won't go anywhere, he said, but it tells me Darren crossed another line. How? I asked. He named you. That was the moment it turned. Until then, Darren had been circling, probing, threatening. Now he was aiming. Vanessa called again that evening. Her voice shook. He told me if he goes down, he'll take you with him. Did you believe him? I asked. No, she said, but I believe he'd try. Marcus took the phone from me. Vanessa, he said calmly, this stops now. If Darren contacts you again, you document everything. You don't respond. She exhaled shakily. He says Laura owes him. Marcus's voice hardened slightly. Laura owes him nothing. The line went quiet. 2 days later, Darren made his final move. He filed a complaint, not against Marcus. Against me. Wrongful influence, professional misconduct, a list of vague claims with no evidence. It was sloppy. It was desperate. And it backfired. The inquiry closed within 48 hours. No follow-up, no escalation. Just silence. That silence wasn't relief. It was collapse. Darren had played his last card. And it had failed. Which meant the man who once believed the world owed him something had nothing left to lose. And that made what came next inevitable. The knock came just after midnight. 3 sharp taps, then nothing. Marcus was already awake. He always was when things went quiet like that. He moved ahead of me, checked the camera, then opened the door halfway. Darren stood in the hallway. No suit, no confidence, no performance. Just a man who had burned through every option. I need to talk, Darren said. No, Marcus replied, you don't. Darren's eyes flicked to me behind him. She owes me 5 minutes. I stepped forward. You used those up 4 years ago. His jaw tightened. You think this ends because paperwork didn't stick, he said. You think I just disappear. Yes, Marcus said calmly. That's exactly what you're going to do. Darren laughed brittle. You took everything, he said. My firm, my reputation, my wife. I didn't take her, Marcus replied. She left when she saw who you really were. Darren's eyes flashed. You don't get to rewrite me. You rewrote yourself, I said. Every lie did that. He looked at me then, really looked at me. You planned this, he said again. You married him to punish me. I shook my head. I married him because he never tried to own me. That landed harder than anger ever could. Darren's shoulders sagged, just for a moment. I loved you, he said quietly. No, I replied, you loved what I gave you. Marcus stepped forward. This conversation is over. Darren's face hardened. You think you're safe, he said to me. You think this ends clean. It already has, I said. Marcus closed the door. We stood there in silence for a long moment. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Vanessa. He came to you, didn't he? I typed back. Yes. A pause. Then, I'm filing for divorce. I stared at the screen, then set the phone down. Outside, Darren's footsteps faded down the hallway. For the last time, I leaned against Marcus, my heart steady. The suspense was gone. Not because justice had been loud, but because the threat no longer mattered. And that was the moment I knew. The past had finally lost its power. The weeks after Darren disappeared felt unreal. No messages, no calls, no shadows lurking behind routine. It was as if someone had erased him mid-sentence. Vanessa filed for divorce quietly. No lawyers fighting in public. No statements, just signatures and separation. She didn't ask me for help. That alone told me she had finally understood something. Then a name surfaced again. Not Darren's. Marcus's. A competitor reached out to one of his clients, hinting at instability and recent controversies. It was subtle, careful, almost invisible. Marcus smiled when he heard. This is the echo, he said, the last vibration after impact. What if it grows? I asked. It won't, he replied, because nothing supports it. 2 days later, the competitor withdrew their bid. No explanation. That same evening, Vanessa called. He contacted me again, she said. My chest tightened. Darren. Yes, she replied. From a different number. He wanted information. About you, about Marcus. And, I asked. I said no, she said. Then I blocked him. That was new. He told me you ruined him, she added. That you orchestrated everything. I stayed silent. I told him the truth, she continued. That he ruined himself, that I just finally stopped lying for him. I closed my eyes. He laughed, she said, but it wasn't confident, it sounded empty. The call ended there. 3 days later, Marcus received confirmation that Darren had left the country. No forwarding trail, no business interests remaining. Gone. I expected relief. Instead, I felt something sharper. Finality. That night, Marcus asked me a question he'd never asked before. Do you regret anything? He said. I thought carefully. I regret believing silence meant safety, I said. It doesn't, but I don't regret leaving, and I don't regret choosing you. He nodded, that's all that matters. Outside, the city moved on. Inside, the story closed itself. Not with victory. With certainty. And nothing is more dangerous to the past than someone who no longer needs answers. Months passed. Not quietly, deliberately. Life settled into a rhythm that didn't ask for permission. Marcus expanded his firm. New contracts, new regions, no mention of Darren, as if he'd never existed. That illusion shattered one afternoon. Marcus came home holding a thin folder. No tension, no rush, just focus. He's back, he said. My pulse didn't spike. That surprised me. Not here, Marcus continued, but he's trying to re-enter the market. Different name, different partners. I waited. He wants a meeting, Marcus said, with me. I laughed once. Of course he does. He's asking through intermediaries, Marcus added, avoiding direct contact. Why? I asked. Marcus met my eyes, because he knows he lost, and he needs something from me. That night, I received a message from Vanessa. He contacted me too. I didn't reply right away. He says he's changed, she added, that he wants to make things right. I typed back one word. No. Her response came slowly. I know. 2 days later, Marcus went to the meeting. Neutral space, witnesses present, no emotion allowed. When he returned, I could tell immediately. He wanted absolution, Marcus said, Not reconciliation, not business. And, I asked. I refused, he replied, because absolution isn't something you negotiate. Darren had looked smaller, Marcus said, controlled, careful, like someone afraid of saying the wrong thing. He asked about you, Marcus added. I smiled slightly. Did you answer? Yes, Marcus said. I told him you were happy. That was the end of the meeting. The following week, Darren's attempt collapsed. Again, investors pulled out. Partners distanced themselves. This time, there was no anger. Just absence. Vanessa sent one final message that month. He's gone for good. I didn't respond. Not because I was cruel, but because the story no longer required my voice. And that was the final twist Darren never anticipated. Being irrelevant is far worse than being hated. The fallout didn't explode. It sank. Darren's name stopped circulating. No warnings, no rumors, just absence. People adjusted faster than I expected. They always do. Then something unexpected happened. One of Darren's former partners reached out directly to me. Not to threaten, not to accuse. To confess. He blamed you, the man said. From the start, said everything fell apart because you left, because you humiliated him. I felt no reaction. He needed a reason, the man continued. Something external, otherwise he'd have to face himself. I thanked him and ended the call. That evening, Vanessa appeared again, not in person, at the edge of my life. I sold the house, she said. No explanation, no emotion. That was fast, I replied. I couldn't live in it anymore, she said. Every room felt like a lie. Silence followed. Do you ever think about him? She asked suddenly. I answered honestly, no. She exhaled slowly. I thought that would hurt more to hear. It shouldn't, I said. It's freedom. She didn't respond. Days later, Marcus showed me a report. Darren's final venture had failed, quietly, permanently. No appeals, no retries. That night, I stood at the window and realized something unsettling. There was no final confrontation. No dramatic collapse. No apology. And yet, the tension was gone. Because Darren's greatest fear had come true. He no longer mattered to anyone who mattered. Not to Marcus. Not to me. Not even to Vanessa. And in that silence, the story finally closed its grip on my life. Not with noise. With nothing at all. Vanessa called late. Not frantic, not broken. Controlled. I need to tell you something, she said. I waited. He tried one last thing, she continued. Not with lawyers, not with money. My grip tightened. What did he do? He tried to rewrite me, she said. Told people I manipulated him, that I pushed him to betray you, that I engineered everything. I closed my eyes. That was Darren's final weapon. If he couldn't control the story, he'd poison every version of it. And, I asked. And I didn't let him, she said. That stopped me. I corrected them, Vanessa went on. Every time, I told them the truth, that I chose him, that I lied, that I betrayed you. The words landed heavier than any apology. He didn't expect that, she said. He thought I'd protect him the way I used to. What did he say? I asked. He said I owed him loyalty, she replied. I told him loyalty ends when respect dies. There was silence between us. He's alone now, she added, truly alone. I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt inevitability. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I don't want to carry it anymore, she said. And because I needed you to know I didn't let him turn me into his shield again. That mattered. Not forgiveness. Accountability. I'm moving, she said. New city, new job, no shortcuts. Good, I replied. She hesitated. Do you think, someday, we could talk without all this between us? I chose my words carefully. Someday, I said, not today. She accepted that. I could hear it in her breathing. After the call, Marcus asked, Are you okay? Yes, I said, because she finally stopped lying, even if it was late. Outside, the city moved forward. Inside, something old loosened its grip. Darren was gone. Vanessa was rebuilding. And for the first time, the past didn't feel like a threat waiting to return. It felt finished. One chapter left. And it wasn't about them. The last message came months later. Unknown number, no greeting. I know you won't answer. I just needed you to know I remember everything differently now. I didn't need to ask who sent it. I didn't reply. Some doors don't need closure. They stay closed because nothing waits on the other side. Life moved forward without announcement. Marcus's work flourished. Mine did too, not dramatically, steadily, the way real things grow when no one is watching. Vanessa relocated. New city, new job, no shared circles, no overlap. Occasionally, I heard updates through others. She was quieter now, less visible. That suited her. Darren vanished completely. No sightings, no rumors, no attempts to return. People like him don't fade because they change. They fade because no one is listening anymore. One afternoon, long after the chaos had burned out, Marcus asked me something unexpected. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if you stayed?" he asked. I didn't answer right away. "I think," I said slowly, "I would have disappeared." He nodded, "Then leaving saved you." "No," I corrected, "choosing myself did." That was the truth. Not revenge. Not justice. Not victory. Choice. The funeral felt distant now, like a scene from another life. But sometimes, I remembered Vanessa's face in that moment, the second she realized she was no longer ahead of the story. That memory never brought joy. It brought clarity. Some people build their lives by taking, others survive by walking away, and a few, quietly, stubbornly, build something no one can touch. I married one of those people. In the past, it finally learned it no longer had permission to follow me. The end. You have reached the end of the text.